is Ms. Ankita Jaiswal, Chairperson, Sustainable Tourism Committee, HRANI and UPHRA, requesting all the panelists and the Honorable Moderator to please join us on the dais. Dr. Nitin K.R. Saxena, Associate Dean, Development and Professor of Marketing, Jaipuria School of Business. Can I request the panelists for this session to please join us on the dais? Mr. Niranjan Khatri, Founder iSambhav, Mr. Naveen Berry, Editor Cross Section Media, Mr. Vikram Kota, CEO GRT Hotels, Mr. Anupam Das Gupta, Area Vice President North India, the Leela Palaces Hotels and Resorts. Can we have a big round of applause for our panelists for today, please? Requesting all the delegates to kindly settle down because we need to start the panel discussion. Do you have can we have a cordless mic here, please? Again? Requesting all the delegates to kindly settle down, please, so that we can start this session. Mr. Vikram from GRT Hotels, if you can join us on the dais. So I'll introduce the panel again. Our session moderator is Ms. Ankita Jaiswal, Chairperson, Sustainable Tourism Committee, HRANI and UPHRA. Welcoming Dr. Nitin K.R. Saxena, Associate Dean, Development and Professor of Marketing, Jaipuria School of Business. Can we have a big round of applause for all our panelists, please? Mr. Niranjan Khatri, Founder iSambhav, Mr. Naveen Berry, Editor Cross Section Media, Mr. Vikram Kota, CEO GRT Hotels, Mr. Anupam Das Gupta, Area Vice President North India, the Leela Palaces Hotels and Resorts. So I'll hand over the session to our moderator, Ms. Ankita, all yours. Thank you.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. It feels nice to be here and discussing something which is very, very important for today's time. This is the second Sustainability Tourism Summit, and I'm very happy to moderate it for the first time. I hope I'm able to do justice to it. And everyone on the panel, as I've read their bio, is visionary and have brought some commendable changes. So I'm looking forward to an exciting panel. Thank you. So my first... can I request most of the people to please settle down so that we can start with the session? It's always nice if you have an engaging people in front. Yes, so my first question is to Mr. Niranjan Khatri, Founder iSambhav. So sustainability, as much as I could read from your bio, is an everyday thing to you, just like to me. For me, it's like a way of life. So the question that I would like to ask you is, how did you start the journey of sustainable development 37 years back, when the subject was purely understood, and how did you scale it up?
Thank you. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. It's a terrible thing to see and have no vision. A quote by Helen Keller many years back. And to answer your question, I was in a very piquant situation 37 years back in Port Blair when I was a general manager of a small hotel. And the Commander-in-Chief of Navy, late Commander-in-Chief of Navy, Admiral Govil, and Mr. Sinha, Conservator of Forests, called me up and told me that, look, your tourists are messing up the island. Please do something about it. Uh, Without thinking, I said yes to them because the request resonated with me. And for 2.5 months, I did nothing because I did not even know the spelling of environment. But after 2.5 months, it occurred to me, why don't I appeal to the good sense of the tourists? And we put a small sticker on the cardboard packed lunch box, which was being littered, and mentioned over there, please do not litter the island, please bring it back to the hotel for disposal. And we also mentioned that please leave the corals for the fish. Now, we did not know that we got into environment social governance, which is a mandate today for companies across the world, that we integrated the sustainable concerns in our business processes unknowingly without having a deep knowledge on the subject. And that led us to taking a very deep dive into the resource consumption in hotels. And we eliminated a whole lot of our products which were not required or were repurposed for certain other things. And on a meager turnover, we saved 10% without any external help. And having said this, today the topic is very nice that we have to reimagine. We have to reimagine how do we use resources. I'd like to quickly focus on water because we had a very severe crisis in Port Blair and our water consumption was cut from 10 KL to 2 KL at 1 day's notice, and we took harsh decisions of supplying water to our guests in buckets, sea water for flushing and fresh water for bathing. And we dug a well for watering needs of our garden. We did a rooftop rainwater harvesting for our fresh water needs. And there are no rivers, ponds, lakes in the Port Blair. It's a volcanic island. So we had to manage with whatever little we had. And that gave me sleepless nights, and I got in touch with policymakers and said, look, we need to have policies on this subject so that we build resilience in business and make sure that we don't run short of water. Unfortunately, the water shortage is at our door today, and we have still not woken up. And therefore, I would like to suggest to the hotel industry that look at water a little more deeply. Do we need to change bed sheets every day in the hotel? Do we do it at home? The answer is no. Have we looked at the embodied water of the food waste that we are generating? Yesterday I was reading the papers. The world wastes $1 trillion worth of food every year. Along with this, you're throwing away energy, water, and the hard labor of the farmers. So we need to rethink and see if we can put a nice little label in the menu. Please order mindfully. I was very happy to hear the earlier speakers using the word mindful so many times. We need to bring about empathic and mindful service design in our hotel. I'll stop now and we'll continue a little later.
Okay, thank you so much. So, sir, of course, from what you said, I was deeply hearing it that reducing the amount of water as an industry we consume, we really have to be, like you said, mindful is the word that's been used. But there are several challenges also which are faced, and that's how we have to come in balance to it. So we do have 2 people owning hotels here and looking after it. So my question would be next, just because some mentioned about water, to Mr. Vikram Kota, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So, so going through everything about you that I could read about, you're really passionate about it. You've been working for years and with innovative ideas. So how does your brand integrate sustainability on everyday operations, including water saving, energy saving, community, food, traditional knowledge, without compromising on guest experience or luxury?
So thank you for that question. I think it's very important. First of all, we are in the hospitality industry and people come to our hotels because they expect a certain amount of luxury, a certain amount of lifestyle. And when we are saying that we are sustainable, it doesn't mean that we don't have to give the luxury or the things. That's why we always say we are responsible luxury. Yeah. Having said that, for example, I'll just give you a fast example. Like today, I think this room is set at around 21 degrees centigrade. We could have done it at 26
Of course,
degrees.
I so agree with you. When I came in, I was like, it's a sustainability summit. And look at the energy that we are wasting.
And all of us are wearing suits, and I think that's unnecessary in a place like Delhi when it's so hot outside.
Completely.
But we are
Yes,
in a
yes.
hotel, we are a 5-star hotel, and people expect to be in a nice environment. So that's the balance which
The
we
nice
need to
can
take.
be environment friendly and not freezing cold like Iceland.
Yeah, so that's the balance which we need to take, and as GRT Hotels, we have put in a lot of effort to make sure that we have this balance very carefully. First of all, I think the worst thing which happened to mankind, the worst invention which happened to mankind is plastics. So I think the first thing what we did is we eradicated plastics 100%. Single-use plastics, and then of course we went into the reduce, recycle mode also, and we also work very closely with communities, which is very important for sustainability. And I think most of our staff have been integrated from the communities, and we give them a livelihood. And once we do that, they also start understanding the basics of sustainability, and then they start living sustainability. The entire community becomes sustainable. Similar to water, I think water, air is very important, and I think what we're trying to do here is to breathe easily. And pollution is, of course, we are in Delhi, which is the capital of pollution, I think. And this is something which we are really working on. All our hotels, we are saying that we are guaranteeing an AQI of 25 to 35.
So basically adding to more greener patches and areas.
Yes, not only that, we have invested in technology. We are enabling this entire thing by technology, where we put microfilters into hotels. Why I'm telling you all this is we have youngsters, we have younger minds who can take away these, implement these in their hotels. And my book, which the minister released today, which I had penned it down, is just for that, so that the message goes down to everybody in the industry that they should leave a better planet for a future. And I can go on, but I think we have a big panel and a lot of questions.
Yes, so this is such a topic. It's like an independence we are looking for. So I know that 5 minutes will not justify it, but a bit from everybody will be really kind. Thank you so much for that insights, sir. Now I'd like to go ahead to Mr. Anupam, the Vice President, North India, the Leela Palace. Just very similarly to how Mr. Vikram mentioned the different steps that he's taking in incorporating sustainability. How do you think like luxury property, though when I'm taking as naming or reading as luxury, I feel sustainability itself is luxury in today's time.
100%.
Yeah.
I think it's joined at the hip, and the more we divorce the two, the worse is the problem. I think both have to coexist, and that's the reality
It's
of today.
the importance of the time. Like right now, the luxury would be having food that is free of pesticide, air that is clear, and water as much enough for consumption. So, sir, my question to you would be, what are the significant challenges the hospitality industry faces in adopting sustainable practices, and how can they be overcome?
Well, the first obvious challenge is, obviously from a, CapEx and ROI perspective, that's the first hurdle that comes into play, especially if you look at some of our hotels. In fact, 50% of our portfolio is running on green energy, both solar and wind energy. Very happy to say that. So, and our aim is by 2030, we'd look at a completely green situation for all our hotels. But having said that, the ROI becomes a big challenge for large capex like this. Even for small capex, such as an organic waste converter, there is a return on investment that has to be, fed into the plans. But having said that, the long-term benefits far outweigh the short-term cash flow issues. The other thing is, from an operating perspective, balancing sustainability and luxury, essentially through sourcing, correct sourcing, that becomes a challenge. I think mindful sourcing is very, very important. For example, and I'd like to quote our example again, all our amenities are, all the amenity bags are sourced from the Jodhpur Mahila Griha Udyog. So it's a self-sustaining women's only initiative, and all the, the entire sale goes to them, right? All our teas come from Jalinga Tea Estate, which is again organically certified. And even though it's coming from far, from Assam, but at least we know it's coming from the right source and it's benefiting the right people at the end of the day.
So basically, sir, it means that when the demand goes up, so does the supply. Just like our Mr. Klen previously said that it will change. The whole dynamics will change when the demand of things sustainable and people growing it or opening new startups and people consuming it.
And
as
guest
our
perception is
services.
changing as well.
Yes, of
Ma'am,
course.
guest perception is changing. I would say, gone are the days when luxury was seen to be equal to excess, right? That day is gone. I think we're sitting on a new paradigm now, and all of us have to walk the talk on it, not just from a marketing perspective, but actually walk the talk on various initiatives. I'll give you one more example. Weddings, for example, is a big source of income for so many people, right down the value chain, from hotels to tourism authorities, everyone, right? Everybody's trying to woo Indian tourism, etc. The amount of flowers we use in weddings, right? We realized that we started working with this initiative called Pool. So we dry our flowers, we hand them over to Pool, and women from a self-employed group, they infuse that with our essence and convert them into incense sticks, which we give to our guests. So it's a great example of circular economy, right? And making sure that things are not going into the landfill, right? Saving 1 ton per annum per hotel from this.
So it's all about the mindset, and whether it is a 2-star, a 4-star, or generations of hotels. I'm also taking care of a few hotels. So it is about the traditional knowledge that we incorporate in today's time for a sustainable living. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
I would next like to go up to Mr. Naveen, sir, who's an editor, cross-section media. Sir, as an experienced editor, how do you think media can drive positive change in the tourism industry, especially by promoting ethical and sustainable travel options?
Well, thank you very much for inviting me over. I don't know exactly if I'm going to be answering your question directly, but I think looking back over a long period of time at tourism in the country, I can see one very major change happening. Say 40, 50 years ago, tourism was perceived purely as Sair Sapata, as sightseeing. It was all to do with monuments. That was tourism. Today's tourism is a very multifaceted discipline, multidisciplined, and embraces the entire lot of activity across the economy, across the society in the country. My concern today is that what we think of tourism as 50 years ago to now, that realization that it has now emerged into a much more multifaceted industry has not been understood by the traditional industry in the country. So we are still thinking of tourism as hoteliers and tour operators. We are not seeing them beyond. We are not seeing them beyond. And I think the biggest challenge in terms of sustainability for tourism would be to recognize the larger value chain which tourism involves today as opposed to 30 or 40 years ago. That realization has not come. I attend a lot of conferences, I've even done a few, and I find that invariably those whom I have invited from outside the hotel industry have felt disappointed that our interaction is so inclusive, is so incestuous, we are really not able to engage with the world outside. So I think the biggest challenge for me personally is, if we are going to be a sustainable tourism industry, I'm not talking about hotels. If you're going to be a sustainable tourism industry, we must take stock of the larger stakeholders, not as appendages, but as essential constituents of the tourism value chain, and give them equal rights as stakeholders. There is no tourism lobby in the country. There's a hotel lobby, there's a tour operators lobby. States are driving their own initiatives, but there is no tourism lobby if you Mr. Shukla is sitting there. If you look at any tourism destination in Madhya Pradesh or anywhere in the country, there is no significant, obvious, visible tourism lobby. You will have hoteliers speaking tourism, you will have tour operators talking tourism, but you don't have tourism people talking tourism. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think that's the need of the hour.
No, sir, it makes some sense to me, but coming with experience, and I was just thinking about it, somewhere you may be right, but a lot of initiatives have been, sir. See, it's a huge country, it's a global issue. And with every state trying their level best to bring some or the other initiatives, I do agree that everybody can collectively come ahead and have some data which is some norms that, okay, this we need to follow. But I think we're still there. This is the second sustainability summit. And my question to you was, which I'll come to it, that how media can highlight the positives of the people that they're doing. Everyone sitting here from the experience of 37 years or to different hotels or schools, they are doing their bit. But yeah, if anybody needs to know something, they really need to work a little bit to find out where it is. I do agree with that. But it's only with every single step that we can make a collective and large change. And why media to me makes a huge difference is because in today's time of digital world and media, most of the people get to see everything that is on social media, TV or else. So the positives that can be highlighted of, and like you said that why it is also important is because so many businesses are happening. People are traveling around the month. So it has not just become for marriages or for events, but also after COVID, literally people spending 15 to 20 days in hotels. So it is very important that the sustainability, which is another independence that we're looking for, or a everyday living, going back to basics, should be incorporated. But yes, I do agree that everybody can get together in a collective effort, like a team, and would be answerable for everyone who has issues to deal with, so that we are able to deal with it as a, not only an association, but everybody believing in this for a change. So I hope I'm able to.
Yeah, I'm sure that's possible. But the point I'm making is, you're talking about sustainability purely in terms of energy, in terms of waste management, in terms of issues which are directly the what you call circular economy and the rest. I'm saying for tourism to be sustainable, I'm using your word sustainability. For tourism,
Yes.
you need to recognize the larger stakeholders as equal constituents of your tourism product and not treat them as appendages, but as essential components of the tourism product.
I agree, sir.
That's all I'm saying.
It is just not about we running businesses and understanding sustainability. Sustainability is a way of life with people working, with stakeholders, with people visiting the hotels and resort properties. We can start things, we can spend a lot of money and energy, but until and unless it is followed like an independence, like a movement, then it will not be followed. I completely agree with you. Thank you so much, sir.
I think
Yes,
more
yes,
than
sir.
anything, I think it's awareness.
Yeah, of course.
I think there's a dearth of awareness of this, and I think FHRA is doing a fantastic job of having a conference
sir,
like this.
I
But I
feel-
think that awareness has to go up.
So, but I feel everybody, all of us have gone through COVID. Haven't we had enough awareness that if we are not living, we won't be able to do any businesses at all? And during COVID or 1 year after COVID, everybody was very particular about the water you were having, the food, and just after that, we've forgotten that.
I may just like to add that you're talking about social media, you're talking about awareness. I go to Himachal very often, and I see across roads which say 15 years ago were literally empty. Today, there's a string of hotels, 10 rooms, 20 rooms, 50 rooms. The entire roads are now infested with small hotels. And I'm sure none of them are sustainable in any of the
And
terms that you
mostly would
understand.
not even be registered, sir.
Somewhere, as Mr. Kota mentioned, FHRAI in one context, I think the regional associations, virtually every small town has a small little body of hotels and
Yes, sir.
restaurants operational. But the question of sustainability has not reached them yet, because somebody mentioned here earlier, the cost of compliance for each of these small hotels is very, very high. So how can you actually use the principle of distributing the cost of compliance amongst us, colony as a whole?
So I feel that The cost may be high for different.
Confined to one hotel.
So I think Mr. Khatri had something to say.
I'd like to take a cue from what Naveen Berry said. In 2004, the Delhi government invited me to take a session for five-star hotels and sustainability. I said, big no. The reason being that they have enough resources to get this kind of knowledge. But I suggested to him that we should do a program for the Paharganj hoteliers. And he agreed, and we got about 50 hoteliers there. And I've seen some of the Paharganj hoteliers, and Naveen rightly said, are they aware of sustainability? On energy and many fronts, they did not know anything. And we gave them very simple inputs of how to enhance their sustainability. For example, very simple example, many of them have single unit ACs facing the road. It's caked with mud. I said, when did you last clean it? They've not cleaned it. The moment you clean it, you enhance your energy efficiency by 20%. Having said this, I'd like to divert a little towards getting deeper into energy consumption. India has got 18% of the global population, 4% of the forest resources, 2% of the water resources, and we have 300 million cattle which are competing for the finite resources. And as you might be aware, sand, aggregate and water are also a problem. With this kind of scenario at a macro level, should we be making large rooms the way we are making today? I think when I joined this industry in 1974, the room size was right, about 250 square feet. Today the room size has gone up to 450 square feet, and occupancy is only 80%. So therefore you are wasting energy, water, etc. And the luxury of few cannot cause harm to a large number of other stakeholders. We have to become mindful on this front also and see how do we standardize the size and do optimal design of the hotel with minimalistic materials. Then only are going to be sustainable. Otherwise, we are very resource intensive.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, to this, I'm not only chairing, but since I'm a third generation hotelier, I'll just give my take on it. Certainly for bigger hotels, it might seem that it is easier, it isn't. The risk is more. And when the risk is more, you can also save more. With smaller hotels, sir, very personally also I have tried. There are a lot of people, a lot of hotels who individually are not so much incorporated in the federation, also by their own choice. So we do try, and we can only try. That's what we are doing right here also. Thirdly, sir, as for the rooms, the kind of people that come to the hotels, if you talk to them, the first thing is how kitna chota hai kamra. They might be paying 4,000 of rupees, but they would want almost everything. So in a collective effort, when everything we need for a sustainable hospitality reduces, we'll be able to take care of almost everything, sir. That's what I feel.
You know what? I use the word minimalistic while reducing the size. And when you design some rooms or hotels like this, put the story out. Like the car industry, they'll tell you this car has so many features, etc., etc. Why can't we tell the car industry to also keep a bag over there so that tourists who go to outlying places, they don't litter the whole lot? I've seen pictures of the Char Dham completely littered with garbage. It is so difficult to keep it in the car.
Of course.
Even if a car bag is not there, can they take a bag so that they put all their garbage there, responsibility?
So I think
So a lot of education has to be done.
education of everybody, sir.
Everybody.
Mindset of everybody.
Absolutely.
No, I think the solution is if there is compliance, and compliance can come only through policy. And I urge FHRI, bodies like FHRI, to do policy advocacy to the government to put it as part of the classification. Even small hotels are mandated to classify themselves.
Basically, you're trying to say when it gets a little stricter than people like to.
I'd like to
Yeah, so-
intervene. Vikram, policies are there. I think there's a plethora of policies in this country. We are the richest in the world in terms of policies. But implementation is the problem. And there's something called individual social responsibility. We always point fingers at the state government, here, there. What about me? We are not doing that. And I see it every time.
So we had a lot of these vendors, street vendors earlier, and once FSSI came in, I think a lot of thing has been cleaned up. I think similar thing has to come for sustainability. And if there's
Also-
something like that, then they would be compliant.
Even the people coming to the hotels, I at an individual level, and I think all of you, because you're a believer of it, we try. But if the mindset of a collective mindset will not change, we cannot bring that. That is why I so much emphasize that it is an independence we're looking for. If we are not living tomorrow, then we'll be able to do no business. Mr. Nitin, I would come to you. I have some very interesting question for you. Thank you so much for the wait. So you're the Associate Dean and Professor of Marketing, Jaipuria School of Business. Some time back, Mr. Gleen had something to say about hospitality sessions and courses. And I certainly agree with him. So business schools like yours, firstly, according to you, since you're not from this industry specifically, what does regenerative or responsible tourism means? And how is the idea of incorporating such courses, which are easily accessible to people, and they can further implement into the tourism business if they join so? Thank you.
Thank you. So a lot of discussion has been done on sustainable tourism. What I believe is that regenerative tourism is beyond sustainability. It is about restoration of the tourism destinations. It is about integrating circular economy models into hospitality and tourism. It is about how the industry is managing their waste, how they are recycling the grey water, how they are doing rainwater harvesting. So a lot of efforts needs to be done from the provider side. But at the same time, regenerative tourism is a two-way street. Here the tourist has also taken informed decision. They also need to be self-educated. They also need to take informed decisions. So when it comes to choosing a destination, choosing a hotel, they need to understand that how eco-friendly is the hotel, how eco-friendly is the destination, and how they can contribute towards the sustainability of the entire destination. So I'll give you a small example. There is a village in Uttarakhand called it Sarmoli. So there women have started a homestay tourism. So what they are doing, they are promoting this eco-friendly tourism, but also restoring the Pahadi culture. They are engaging the tourist in restoration of forest. They are engaging them to build the local community, to ensure that the local community is able to reinvest the revenue in that same place, like reinvesting in education, infra and healthcare.
Yes, so that's a practical thing, but when it comes to schools and colleges like yours, so at that level, if they can be taught about sustainability more, it will bring a change.
So
if
when
I
we-
may,
Yeah, please.
I'm very happy that you're my neighbor and you're from the academics. Can we start with small things in the academics which will lead to transformative change? I still don't understand why in the state of Kerala and in a hot country like India, why are our students wearing coat and tie? Can we dismantle this to begin with, since we are talking about climate change?
The local
May
community.
May I finish? I'm not talking local community. I'm talking of the college per se. Last year, EU climate control, some organizations said that we have already exceeded the guardrail of 1.5 degrees centigrade in 2024, which we were supposed to cross in 2030. So we have got emergency at our doorstep. Not doorstep, I think it's already entered our drawing room, number one. Number two, can we start a new practice in our catering colleges that they'll ask people, you want a small peg or large peg of water? Now, I'm sure many of you must be laughing, but because this cultural practice of offering people full glass of water, whether they are thirsty or not, right? And I don't have a gauge in my forehead to tell you whether it's half tank or full tank or emergency. Why do we fill up a full glass of water? These are the new practices that we need to inculcate. Industry knows that innovation is important, but innovation is unnatural because you're moving off from the comfort of whatever you have been used to doing and get into something new. And these are the kind of disruptive things that we need to start in colleges. Now, the answer that I get from the academics is, oh, but the industry says, how can you send people without coat and tie? We have to change the mindset of the industry.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr.
So thank you, sir. So when it comes to Jaipuria School of Business, how we are inculcating the, a sense of sustainable tourism. First, that we have introduced a tourism and hospitality as a specialization, where we have full-fledged 5 courses and we prepare students not just for tourism but for a sustainable tourism. We have live projects. We have also done a tie-up with Dubai, and our students are doing a research on artificial intelligence, user device acceptance in hospitality and tourism, that how AI can enhance the experience of these tourists at the same time maintaining the sustainability.
So,
Now, can I just
would-
come into this one
Yeah.
minute?
Yeah.
I think if you look at India, the tradition of India, I think
much better than
since traditionally we have been sustainable. My grandmom used to say, "Don't waste food."
Yeah, of course.
We used to have we have a bath in buckets. Now it's in shower, and don't walk to whichever place. Don't take a thing. So I think we need to also respect tradition and bring back tradition, but yet not lose the progress what we are doing.
And I feel that when it comes to AI and things, let's not let humans be overpowered by it. Like you just said, Mr. Vikram, that we were always sustainable. We've just forgotten it. From not wasting food, from growing your own food, from walking, from incorporating your local craftsmen to sabzi walas to everybody. And now you're naming it at farm to table and farm to fork. So it's just that all of us need to incorporate it, and digital or the fast-paced world or AI is good. But what I was wanting, Mr. Nitin, is that if in the education part, because then at that time kids or everybody studying is little forced to sit, to just understand the actual meaning of sustainable, how important it is. Like Mr. Khatri said, that we just there, we just at the tipping point. And it is very important that when you're educated and you go out, that you already know what are your yes and what are your no's.
So like just to answer on your AI part, it's not about artificial intelligence, it is about collaborative intelligence. How a human intelligence can integrate or collaborate with artificial intelligence to bring sustainability to and to enrich the experience of the entire cohort first. Now second, coming to sustainability, how in education institute we are incorporating the sustainability. If you will look at Jaipuria School of Business, we have multiple things which adds to the sustainability. First, we have rainwater harvesting, we have complete solar panels, we have reduced our electricity cut by 63% in last 3 years. When it comes to these water bottles, we are zero plastic campus. Plus, we have an SDG certification to the students. So if you talk about SDG 8, which is about the responsible, inclusive community, within this there is an SDG 8.9, which talks about sustainability, which talks about sustainable tourism. So we are incorporating modules to teach the students, not just the students, but to prepare them so that they can create an impact in the society when they are there in the corporate world.
Mr. Naveen has something to say.
Just want to chip in again on the larger subject of tourism. Somebody mentioned and used the word in the morning called over-tourism.
Yeah.
And over-tourism, I remember, I'm literally talking there for 1973-74. There was a gentleman called Ashok Chatterjee, who later went on to become the director of National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad, one of the most eminent, sensitive people we've seen in the country. He talked about mass tourism in 73-74. I mean, we never heard of mass tourism at that time. And I think today, over all this period of time, I am not aware, maybe Mr. Khatri is more professional in this area than me, is there any agency in the country which is doing carrying capacity studies professionally?
Short answer is no.
Sorry?
Short answer is no.
I think it won't, till now it's
No,
not
short answer
so
is
much
no.
possible
So,
also, sir.
so if you're talking about tourism, sustainable tourism, we have to be careful about over-tourism. Now, if you see the recent example of Kumbh Mela, they had done, I think, every conceivable, on-the-ground arrangement that they could have thought of. But the numbers were still far in excess of whatever they had imagined.
So that's got to do with the population of the
What
country.
I'm saying is, carrying capacity studies need to be initiated across the country whenever you're talking about any destination. And it's getting more and more precarious because you have experiential tourism happening now. People are going into the hinterland. They see a success of one, bed and breakfast, 10 more sprout up. What is the carrying capacity of that village? We don't know. You can keep developing and keep ruining our countryside there.
So I think, please.
Yeah,
There
so
is a-
over
sorry,
tourism.
There
Yeah.
is a social media blog going on right now which I'm sure some of you have seen. Masuri, Nainital, Rishikesh saying we don't want you tourists. You are leaving empty whiskey bottles
very
here.
true.
You are leaving muck around here. We don't want you. So we are creating an anti-tourism sentiment across the country.
So I feel
But there
that
are also positives to this. I just want to comment on this because I'm also on the board of the Tamil Nadu Tourism Development Corporation. Tamil Nadu does these studies, and we realized last year that there are certain locations like Kodaikanal, like Ooty, which is getting over tourism. So in fact, they took a bold step and they said from this year, there is an entry pass during summers to get into Kodaikanal, and there are only 4,000 people or cars can get into Kodaikanal on a weekday. On a weekend, only 6,000. No plastic bottle. If you take a plastic bottle, there is a check at the checkpoint. If you take a plastic bottle, you are fined. So I think somebody has to do this.
I think that comes from the different states.
And the numbers are described on
So-
the website.
So, whenever I've been talking about sustainability, it always comes down to a very human motion, like literally feeling of it, because it's just not sustainability, but the tourism, the people that come to the place. And I'm very happy to hear that a certain state is making such a difference. And like when Mr. Khatri, I'm seeing his concern since this session has been decided, that this has to be in everybody. Whether from the states bringing those changes, from the stakeholders of the hotels, from the leaders to the people, delegates who are appointed, from the people who open the hotels and people working. So it's like a revolutionary change everybody is looking, and it comes from, it's a cycle, and everybody has to contribute to that. Yes, sir.
You know, the industry today is very lucky that they have digital communication. So if I want to confirm a room for anybody out here, I send a nice mail with all the details of the hotel. Why can't hotels in different regions create certain do's and don'ts, that if I am going to a forest along with my reservation, I should be told this is the kind of dress code, this is what you should not do, or this is what you should do. It's not happening. I've been talking about this for many years. Still not happening.
So I
So
think
there are a
in
whole
some
lot of
prop-
ideas which
Yeah.
can be
Done.
implemented without
follow
any
it.
cost. It's just being mindful. And this leads us to the fact that most people in the industry are not educated on this subject.
Educated or maybe not
The
taking it
training-
seriously.
The training department is there, but it's focused only on operations. They need to have a green training program.
I totally agree. From something, we'll take up questions just after 4-5 minutes. From something as simple as quitting plastic bottles, I personally request to almost every properties. I know that putting machines or things for glass water bottles may get a little difficult, but you are consuming poison. And we can start from that. Bigger things may be issues when it comes to government and things, but let us do our bit. Our bit in every way. If you're a hotelier, then we are not putting or using plastic kettles or plastic bottles, to incorporating your traditional crops, to including your local communities, to actually training your people, the person who's cleaning the bathroom, to the person who's making the food, to the person who at the reception. Because everybody over here, like I'll take their closing remarks, but are making effort in their own way. But certainly it is never possible from all of us. Even you as a customer say that I don't want water in a plastic bottle. Or I don't want a very cold environment when we are sitting at, we are literally having March, we're literally at March and summers are coming in. So I think it's everybody's effort and initiative. And since we have 7 minutes remaining, my question to everybody will be something that is very closer to my heart here, is like something which is very easy, maybe luxury properties at Leela or GRT. Still it becomes a little easier because the infrastructure is used. For there are a lot of still hotels which have just started as startups and things. But it is very important if you can give your examples of how incorporating the traditional knowledge of crops, 2023 was the year of the millet, and local communities, and quitting plastic. Of course, there are technical things like solar, STP and others which can be. But from the panel and the discussion that I understood is, it's about the mindset. It's about the change that every one of us would want. So if you can just highlight there a bit. Mr. Vikram.
So I think it's very important that we go back to food which traditionally we've been growing and which grows in those particular regions.
Have you started that, sir?
Yes. So what we did is we have an entire restaurant called the Slow Food Restaurant in our Bangalore. It's a Radisson, Bangalore, which is based only on millet. And millet is big in Karnataka. You know, it's a theme.
Not only in Karnataka.
Yeah, I'm saying it was announced as the grain of the
Yeah,
year in Karnataka. So we have gone directly to the farmers and we have contracted with the farmers, and literally the farm to table we are having an entire menu on millet, and that too on slow cooking.
So that's lovely, sir. I would call it health and not slow cooking. So since I'm chairing and a lot of people are sitting here, we've already worked very closely with Ministry of Agriculture and working with 40,000 artisans and farmers now. So people who really need it, it is not that difficult at all to start traditional food practices
And
in your
also it
places.
takes less water. Do you know millet
course,
takes
yes,
much
sir.
less water than rice?
So I've just finished a book on it, so of course, sir. Yes, sir. I did
So
that,
I think
sir.
you're the expert.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Khatri.
I'm glad you raised this particular point. We all have our own supply chain, but our supply chain is extremely neglected. We have not even visited the place, most of us. Maybe some people have started off late. If you go there, there's no one size fit all, but there's a commonality in all these establishments that they use water very wastefully, they use energy wastefully, and you can give them simple tips which does not require any money. And I'll give you an example and you'll laugh. Went to see a guy who used to supply us kulfis, and he had a small room, maybe about 300 or 400 square feet, and we were getting complaints that there was soot in that kulfi. So when I went there, I found that he had a big kadai in the center and the fan was there, and the fan was full of soot, right? And sometimes when the fan was on, the soot used to fall into it. Then he had access to daylight, but the glass was absolutely dirty. I said, give me a cloth, and I started wiping the glass. And he said, sir, what are you doing? What are you doing? I said, look, once in a while, please clean this up. And that particular day, the temperature in Chennai was, I think, about 18 degrees. And he was running his very powerful exhaust fans. I said, why do you need to run this powerful exhaust fan? He said, I've got these machines which are throwing out the heat and I need to throw it out. I said, okay, but the day is very cold, so can you have a kind of a regulator on the exhaust fan so that you change it according to the ambient weather outside? So these are the kind of simple inputs we can give them. Not only that, our hotel, I'm sure we are aware that 75% of people in this country are malnourished, and the malnourished is great in rural India. So we started something called Bank of Nutrition through one NGO in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, and through that NGO now it's spread to about 300 villages. Similarly, Tumkuru district in Karnataka is a water-stressed district. So we caught hold of the marginalized farmer. The definition of marginalized farmer is he or she owns only about 1.5 acres of land. They have given 5% of their land. We have made a pond with the help of donor money, and they put the sweat equity, and we are making them resilient on the waterfront. There are many other stories, but I won't take any more of your time.
That's totally very encouraging and motivating. Yes, with the hotel industry being one of the largest, we can always save water, food, and a lot of people are not getting food at all. So we can work on this, and we all are sitting here for help. So thank you so much for such a great panel and discussion. So we don't have time to.
Classified hotels have to follow a lot of regulations, rules. But unclassified hotels, for what purposes they are registered on the NITI?
So you're asking something very technical. We are discussing sustainability, which is a thought, and time has already up. So yeah.
Thank you
Just
so
after
much.
that,
Thank
later
you
then.
so much.
Thank you
sir.
so much for being such
Can
an
we
amazing
have a big round of applause for our panelists, please? Thank you very, very much. It's my pleasure to invite Mr. Girish Oberoi, Honorary Treasurer, FHRAI, to please felicitate our panelists for being here today. A big thank you to Dr. Nitin Kyar Saxena, sir, for being here. Thanking Mr. Saxena. Mr. Niranjan Khatri. Mr. Naveen Berry. Can we have the applause coming, please? There are industry experts who've taken out time to be here and share their thoughts with you. Mr. Naveen Berry. Mr. Vikram Kota. Mr. Anupam Das Gupta. Mr. Anupam Das Gupta. And last but not the least, Ms. Ankita Jaiswal for moderating the session. A big round of applause. Ms. Ankita. Can I request the panelists to come in the front for a group photograph, please? Requesting all the panelists to join us for a group photograph, please.